It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the 4 films of September 15th, 2006. Now, on today's show, we have a film starring The Rock as a football coach, dealing with a bunch of juvenile delinquents, if you will. We also have Brian De Palma's latest film, as well as an animated feature about Babe Ruth's bat, and also Zach Braff's follow-up to Garden State. Before we get to those movies, let's talk about the biggest new release of the weekend, which is Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, in Gridiron Gang.
Stay off the streets. All we do is create a void. We've got to fill that void. More than just a coach. You want to start a football team? Exactly. Whatever hood you're from, this is your hood now. More than just a team. I want to show people I can play. It's harder being a loser. More than just a game. Now it's time to prove to everyone out there that even though you're locked up, you're somebody. Based on a true story.
Not lose no more. All we got to do is show it one more time.
Gridiron Gang. Rated PG-13. In theaters September 15th.
So in the Kilpatrick Juvenile Detention Center, the supervisor and former football player Sean Porter, played by Dwayne Johnson, sees the lack of discipline, self-esteem, union, and perspective in the teenage interns and proposes to prepare a football team to play in one league. He is supported by one of his supervisors, and a successful experience changes the lives of many young kids. And, if you've seen one of these movies before, you've seen all these movies. They're all pretty lackluster, except for ones like Remember the Titans, or most of the Disney underdog sports movies. This is a movie that's trying to be like a Disney underdog sports movie, but much more grittier and much more intense. But at least it's showing what Dwayne Johnson's range as an actor is. And I guess that's the one real positive I could take from the movie, is that Dwayne Johnson overall isn't bad in the movie. In fact, he's probably the best overall thing about the film in general. Everything else is pretty lame. I mean, this is a story that's not really all that engaging or exciting. Like I said, we've seen this story done so many times before in the past. Friday Night Lights did this much better, except for, obviously, that they weren't, in Friday Night Lights, they weren't criminals, or juvenile delinquents, if you will. But, I don't know. There's probably a good movie in here somewhere, but I honestly didn't see it. I mean, I remember watching this movie back in the day when it came out in theaters, and I was like, yeah, I couldn't find anything of noteworthiness to it, per se, and it really has not held up over time, honestly. Plus, we've seen Dwayne Johnson do so many other things than movies like this, and like I said, the only real positive that can come from this is that we get to see what Dwayne Johnson can do as an actor as a whole, instead of him just being in another generic action movie in general. So he is really trying his hardest to save the film, but other than that, though, it's not enough for me to say that this is a good movie, and I can't really say it is a good movie, so yeah, definitely a hard skip on Gridiron Gang. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that's Brian De Palma's latest film, The Black Dahlia.
Every year they come to Hollywood. Young, beautiful, waiting to be discovered. Or devoured. The victim has been cut in half, and the mouth sliced ear to ear. From the director of Scarface and the author of L.A. Confidential comes the untold story of the most notorious unsolved crime in California history. The Black Dahlia, rated R, in theaters September 15th.
So yeah, you've got Brian De Palma, who of course directed great movies like Scarface, The Untouchables, and James Ellroy, who of course wrote L.A. Confidential. This feels like a film that should be an all-around winner, and for a lot of people it wasn't. I personally really enjoyed the hell out of it, though. You have a story that is following 2 Los Angeles Police Department detectives investigating the murder of Elizabeth Short, played here by Mia Kirshner, and it leads to a series of shocking discoveries. The 2 cops are played by Aaron Eckhart and Josh Hartnett. They come across all these different people, including Hilary Swank and also Scarlett Johansson, and it's a really good movie. I really like it a lot. I think it's an engaging mystery. I like how gritty it is. I like how dark it is, and a lot of people didn't like it back in the day. A lot of people thought the plot was way too convoluted and thought that the story didn't make a whole lot of sense overall. I don't know. I thought I followed it pretty well throughout when I first saw it, and I think it still holds up a lot in the years since it's been released, and I actually like it. I think it's a really good film, and I think it works because the performances are really good. You got great performances by Hartnett, Johansson, Eckhart, and Swank, but of course the breakout here is Mia Kirshner playing Elizabeth Short, and she really makes it work. She really is putting a lot into this role in particular, and it just works to so many levels. It's really the one thing you come out of this movie remembering the most from it, honestly. And like I said, I like how dark and grisly it gets, because it's not afraid to get intense when it needs to. And for a story like this, it really does need to be an intense film in general here. And because the film unfortunately failed at the box office, De Palma was basically outed from Hollywood because of this, and a lot of his movies were essentially bought by independent studio makers, which I think is really a disappointment because the guy still has it. I mean, he's still got what it takes, and, you know, I mean, he could have been a really good director overall if he had continued making movies under the studio system, but to be honest, a lot of his independent movies that came after this have not been really that good. In fact, The Black Dahlia, I would probably say, is his last really good film overall. It's not one of his best films overall, but it's a film I think deserves a lot more attention than it gets, positive attention. It's a really good movie, a lot of great talent on board in the cast, a good story. It's not afraid to get dark and grisly when it needs to. I thought it really worked very well. I think I'm one of the few people that actually really like this movie a lot, but I think it still holds up. I think it's a really good film. It's definitely worth checking out, in my opinion. Definitely check it out, The Black Dahlia. So with that said, let's move on to our next movie, and that is the animated feature, Everyone's Hero.
Legendary bat is stolen.
Someone broke into the Yankees locker room.
What are you looking at? Yankees' only choice
I gotta get baby's bat back.
is to go after it.
Whoa!
No matter how far it takes him.
Babe's back.
William H. Macy,
Oh!
Rob Reiner,
My head! My butt! My head!
Raven Simone, and Whoopi Goldberg.
Don't you make me break out my whooping stick.
Everyone's Hero. Rated G. Starts Friday, September 15th.
So yeah, this is a film that exists, unfortunately. The story is about a young boy named Yankee Irving who finds himself at an extraordinary crossroads. He has a chance to be a hero and make a difference against incredible odds, or he can play it safe. With faith in himself instilled in his family, he teams up with a sassy young girl played by Raven Simone and some off-the-wall sidekicks, a baseball voiced by Rob Reiner and Whoopi Goldberg as Babe Ruth's bat, and embarks on a sometimes perilous, often funny cross-country quest. In the process, he restores his family's honor, befriends the world's biggest sports superstar Babe Ruth, played by Brian Dennehy, and reveals the hero within. Man, that's the sappiest premise I've ever read in my life. And, hey, Christopher Reeve was one of the directors on this movie, who made this movie before he passed away. Why is he involved in this? We don't know. You know, would it have helped the movie if he was alive to finish the entire film? Probably not, because this is a really stupid idea as a whole. I mean, the movie is literally about features Whoopi Goldberg as Babe Ruth's bat. For whatever reason, I have no idea. This is a really, really lazy movie. I mean, it is so badly put together, and maybe there's a good idea there, but everything about this movie just feels so sappy, so cheap. I mean, this is a film that really looked pretty bad from the get-go. And, yeah, like I said, there's a possibility for something good in this movie, but it's really not that good of a film. In fact, far from it. It's a really, really bad movie overall. And there's nothing funny about it. There's nothing clever about it. There's nothing engaging about it. There's nothing interesting about it whatsoever. It's a really lame movie. And if this was Everyone's Hero, then the world is pretty much fucked over big time. Because, man, this movie sucks. This is a terrible, terrible movie. Really lazy film overall. Yeah, I didn't like it. I hated it from the beginning. And it has not held up well over time either. So, a hard pass on Everyone's Hero. And Christopher Reeve, you deserve to have a much better movie with your name attached to it as your last project you worked on. Him and his wife, too, because his wife worked on this movie, too. Dana Reeve, but she passed away before the movie came out as well. Yeah, they deserve a better project to have their name attached to than this pile of garbage here. So, can we end the show on a much better note? Can we end it on a better note with The Last Kiss?
Don't you love weddings?
Actually, no, they make me pretty depressed.
There's nothing like the happiest day of someone else's life
This should have been us! I took you to your prom!
to make you
I've been
realize
thinking about my life lately, and there are no more surprises.
No!
what's meant to last.
You are an enormous loser.
Only a loser could love a loser.
Zach Braff,
She's the last one I'm gonna kiss.
The Last Kiss. Rated R. Starts September 15th.
Yeah, this was Zach Braff's big follow-up to Garden State, and unfortunately, not as good. In fact, not even good whatsoever. The plot revolves around a young couple and their friends struggling with adulthood and issues of relationships and commitment. Zach Braff is married to Jacinda Barrett, and he decides to go out on this relationship with this other woman, played by Rachel Bilson from the OC, and it just essentially creates chaos and havoc all around, and basically half of the rest of the movie is literally Zach Braff standing outside of Jacinda Barrett's door, asking him to forgive him. And no joke, that is literally the rest of this movie. This movie is so bad. This is a poorly put together movie on so many levels, with a top talented cast all around here. You know, Zach Braff, Jacinda Barrett, Casey Affleck, Rachel Bilson. You have Harold Ramis in here. Tony Goldwyn directed this. Blythe Danner, Tom Wilkinson. You know, a lot of really good talent in this movie. And the script was written by Paul Haggis, who just won an Oscar for directing Crash. And with all that talent involved in this movie, you would think that there would be something interesting and something more engaging here, but no, there's just not. The first half of the movie isn't bad. It's just bland, it's mediocre, it's nothing incredible. And then the second half happens when, you know, all hell breaks loose and Zach Braff is trying to get back with Jacinda Barrett, and that's the rest of the movie. I'm not even kidding you. When I saw this in the theaters back in the day, I was so bored by the end of it. I just couldn't take it anymore. I was just like, I was literally on the cusp of walking out of a movie. I'd never walked out of a movie at any point before this movie, but this would have been the first one I would have ever walked out on, because it was just getting so boring and so pretentious as soon as that last part of the movie happened. And it was just like, come on, just get over it already. Just get on with it already. Like, shit or get off the pot is what I wanted to say. And then when it comes to the inevitable conclusion, I was just kind of like, you gotta be kidding me. You made me sit there for that? This is not a good movie. And it's a shame, because like I said before with Garden State was that one big, really good movie that Zach Braff did. And then after that, just whatever movie he put himself in, he just could never find that magic that he did with Garden State. You know, this, The X, Wish You Were Here, Going in Style, all these movies that had potential to them, and they just couldn't work in any way, shape, or form. And the movie just ends up being an overall mess of a film. And this is definitely an example of where the ship began to really come down. And it's just like, yeah, this is not a very good movie. And it's a disappointment, too, especially coming off a Garden State. I really wanted to see what Zach Braff can do after that. And for this to be his big follow-up film, and this is the end result of it, yeah, it really did not come together well. So, yeah, a hard skip on The Last Kiss. Just a bad movie overall. And so, with all that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Now, the next time we meet, we'll have 5 movies to look at, including the long-awaited sequel to Jackass the movie, Jackass Number 2. We have Jet Li's Fearless. We have James Franco in one of his many flops in 2006, Fly Boys. Another big misfire of a film, the remake of the Best Picture winner, All the King's Men, and Michel Gondry's latest film, The Science of Sleep. So we got 5 films to look at overall. We will take a look at all those movies coming up on the next episode. That'll be coming up tomorrow. But until then, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and notification buttons so you get updates on when new videos come out, because we post here every day. Now, with all that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time. And until then, as always, take care.